Good afternoon, everyone. Quick clarification, 580,000 plus Bitcoin. You have to keep your head on a swivel because every Monday, as you guys know, we update our Bitcoin HODL. And I think you expect something more every week, so we're very proud of that. First off, I just want to say thank you guys for being here. This is my second year at the Bitcoin conference. I was able to take part last year at Nashville, and so I'm really excited to be here again with you all today. So I'm going to spend the next 12, maybe less minutes or so. So this will not be a earnings call length session for me, although you will get some more strategy from Phong Le, our CEO, and Michael Saylor, our executive chairman, after this. So you'll get some more content. So I'll try and keep mine brief. And I want to focus my remarks on how strategy is really transforming capital with a real focus on bringing yield instruments to the market that traditionally we've not seen before. And it's a truly innovative way in which we're trying to create more opportunities for investors, both retail and institutional, to have exposure not just to strategy, but also to Bitcoin. So this first slide is just a breakdown of the distribution of global wealth in the world. I think you've seen this in our presentations before. I'll note we have here now the global wealth total has increased we have 1,000 trillion, otherwise known as a quadrillion. So every day, every week, the wealth of our entire world continues to grow. You can see here Bitcoin is about $2 trillion of that quadrillion of global wealth, and it's growing every day. I remember when it was $1 trillion not too long ago. And so we're certainly seeing the strong momentum in Bitcoin. But I think the point of this slide is to show you that there is a lot more that Bitcoin can take in terms of market share related to the overall global wealth distribution of the world. And the way strategy is focusing in on trying to generate more opportunities for yield is focusing in on the bond market in particular, among many. As you know, we've been active in our common equity offerings. We've been active in converts. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But really, the most innovative structures we put forth this year are in our preferred equity offerings, where we think we can take a dramatic amount of market share in this over $300 trillion bond market. So as we start to see these boxes shift, we know that Bitcoin is a finite asset. It'll continue to grow in market cap, and as a result of that digital transformation of capital, we'll all expect Bitcoin price itself to increase. So I mentioned STRK and STRF. Those are our two unique preferred equity offerings we launched earlier this year. You can see STRF, NASDAQ ticker STRF, is a perpetual preferred stock offering. It has a 10% cash dividend, and it has a 6.9 times BTC rating. BTC rating is a financial concept that we developed to try and articulate how much over-collateralization or coverage of Bitcoin we have relative to the specific instrument. So if you look at 6.9 times coverage, that means we have more than close to 7 times the Bitcoin to be able to manage this security in the market. STRK is also a preferred equity offering we announced earlier this year. That is slightly unique. It has an 8% cash dividend, and it also has a conversion feature that allows you to convert to MSTR common equity at a conversion price of $1,000. So this also has a over 6 times Bitcoin BTC rating, which means, again, in the broad scheme of preferred equity, we have a balance sheet that is strong enough and more strong, I would say stronger than most issuers of preferred equity to cover our obligations on these instruments. Performance. So STRK and STRF are two of the highest performing preferred equity offerings in the market, period. We launched both of those earlier this year. This is just the last month. every time you have to, again, keep your head on the swivel. Here we're showing that STRF and STRK are just about at par at $100 price. Today, I think they're trading up closer to 101. So even since we put this presentation together, we're increasing and outperforming the market. If you look at the preferred equity offerings, other type of preferred equity offerings in the market, they've performed about -2% to -3% over the same period. So while we're performing in the last month 10% in STRF, since inception, it's probably closer to 25%. And then STRK in the last month was an 18% overperformance, whereas other prefs are performing at -2, -3. So again, if you're an investor who wants opportunity and yield, you get an 8 to 10% coupon, and you get a dollar performance that's outstripping the market right now. So this slide, my screen's coming up a little odd. Hopefully you guys can see it properly here. But this sort of goes a little bit deeper into the comparison of what we offer through STRK and STRF and what other preferred equity offerings are out there for the market. And this, I think, is a great comparison slide for any investor, whether it's institutional or whether it's retail, like many of us in this room here, to be able to differentiate between the yield offerings that strategy provides relative to what else is available in the market. So I think a couple of the key structural elements is that STRK and STRF are both perpetual. That means they're forever. We always talk about Bitcoin being the forever asset. STRK and STRF are the equivalent forever preferred equity offerings that provide an 8 to 10% yield forever. You won't find that anywhere else. The other component there is the performance. I mentioned 26%, 18%, -3%. I touched on that. The trading volumes, another very important piece. After we launched these, the preferred equity market tends to be a little more specific. A lot of types of issuers have used it in the past. There's not a whole lot of liquidity in that market. So you're trading through thin volumes. We've outperformed pretty much any preferred equity offering in terms of volume capacity since launching, which to me signals that people care, people want this, and more people are buying it for the yield it provides. One of the ways we did it, which I think was also revolutionary, is we listed these on NASDAQ. So anyone in this room, which is very different from some of the other financial instruments you can buy for investment purposes, you can all walk out of this room, go onto a platform, whether it's Fidelity or SoFi or Robinhood, and buy these preferred equity offerings. That's what's also contributing to the outperformance in liquidity. It's also contributing to people being interested, and it'll continue to outperform because of that structural element. And really what we're doing here, strategy, in providing these types of instruments is trying to create a broad distribution. If you think about convertible bonds, for example, it's a great tool we've used. We've raised over $8 billion of converts, but it's in a very specific institutional ecosystem. It's very hard for any of us to go and buy a strategy convertible bond. Anyone in this room can walk out of here and buy STRK and STRF as soon as you leave this conference room. Comparison against other investments as well. Here we sort of chart yield versus duration. I talked about duration. Here we show an effective duration of somewhere in the 10-year range, but in reality these are perpetual preferreds. There are no call options. They will never come due. You can hold this for 10 years, 15 years, you can hold it for 100 years, you can pass it down to your children through an estate. These dividends will last forever and get paid quarterly. So again, another distinguishing factor. And again, in yield terms, 8 to 10%. Most prefs are somewhere in the 5 to 6% range. So really, we're offering close to double that. And again, founded on top of Bitcoin. right? So not founded on top of someone's ability to promise future cash flows. We're founded upon the foundation of Bitcoin, and we all know in this room where Bitcoin's going, right? I don't have to promise you that. We all know it's going to go higher. This is another chart that we introduced recently that just shows you a little bit more detail of how we think about our capital structure. So we've now developed, in addition to offering different types of investment opportunities, we're also very diligent and disciplined in how we are structuring our overall capital stack at Strategy. You can see MSTR, it's high volatility. Michael has always talked about it being the high volatility. We want more leverage, we want more volatility. We want people to get upside. You get some downside with that. It tracks the Bitcoin price. Because of our leverage, when Bitcoin's up, MSTR tends to be up more. When it's down, it tends to be down a little bit more. But we all know where it's headed, which is much more up than it is today. So high volatility and high exposure to Bitcoin. STRK, which is our convertible, is sort of in the middle ground. It has a little bit of exposure because it has a convertible feature. So if MSTR gets to $1,000, you could convert that to MSTR equity to get that high leverage, high volatility exposure, or you could just simply clip a coupon at 8% for the rest of your life, and that in itself is a very valuable financial instrument. STRF is our most senior, our most high quality, our most what we call pristine part of our capital structure. It has a lot of upside, 10% coupon forever, with no downside, less direct impact to Bitcoin, and it really, over the long term, will start to trade a little bit separate from those performance metrics. So, how do we go about generating more capital for Strategy? This is our gear diagram that we put together recently, and this shows you how we're building the components of the capital structure and how they all work together. You can see here, this sort of illustrates the flywheel impact that I've talked about and that we've talked about a lot in terms of how we're deploying capital. You can see here, STRF, and MSTR all have a BTC torque of 7 to close to 13. BTC torque just means it's the BTC dollar value that is gained relative to the amount of capital that we've invested. So for us, STRF is a great instrument because it generates more value pound for pound. But even at 6.9%, MSTR is clearly outperforming the market in many ways. Again, these are all available to you and to retail investors as well as institutional investors. I think that's a key differentiation I'd like for you all. If there's one thing you take away, it might be, we've heard a lot about Strategy and we've listened to 2-hour conference earnings calls, but really what we're offering is for everyone. And it's not just for the money manager that it's got $1 trillion or $1 billion that they've got to invest. This is for you, this is for me, this is for your grandparents, this is for your children. This is Bitcoin for all, and it sort of aligns to that ethos. I'm out of time, but I'm going to go over for a minute or two, if that's okay, George. So this is our capital structure shown a different way. You can see sort of seniority at the very top. We have our converts, $8 billion roughly. We have STRK and STRF. We have MSTR, and then again, as I mentioned before, it's all founded on this says 62, I think it's closer to 64, $65 billion of Bitcoin today. So it's all based on a foundation of Bitcoin, all of the instruments that we provide to the market. I think one thing to note here is that STRK and STRF are fairly small relative to MSTR and obviously our BTC HODL. This is an opportunity for us. We believe that because of the performance, because of the way that you can access it, because of the ATMs we put in place now that we can follow on and issue more of these instruments, we have a lot of opportunity here to grow the dollar amounts here, and we plan to do so. This is our capital plan. We originally launched it in Q4 of last year as a 21-21 plan. We've now upgraded it to a 42-42 plan. What's amazing about our ability to generate capital is when we introduced the 21-21 plan, we were like, wow, that's $42 billion of capital. How are we going to possibly do that? We finished the equity portion of that 21-21 plan in 6 months, relative to we thought maybe it would take 3 years. And there's a lot of reasons why. There's a lot of reasons why we're all here at this conference celebrating the momentum that Bitcoin has established over the last 6 to 10 months. But that's allowed us to really take advantage of the market opportunities out there. But what you can see at the bottom in the fixed income section of our capital plan is we have a lot more to go. And this goes back to the point I was making earlier. We think there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow STRK and STRF and other preferred equity offerings we plan to put into the market in the future because of the performance, because of the adoption, because of the yield profile it generates. If you can go find better money at 10%, being in this room of Bitcoiners, with the safety and soundness of a management team and a track record and credibility, I'd be hard pressed to find those types of opportunities. So that's why we think there's a ton of opportunity in rounding out this capital plan. Will it take 2 years? Will it take 3 years? It took us 6 months. So on the last plan, so on the equity side, so I'll let you guys determine whether or not it's going to take 2 or 3 years. But we plan to be active. And then my last slide here, this just talks about our year-to-date performance on our KPI targets that we put out to the market. We recently increased our target of BTC yield from up to 25%. We're at 17%, and this probably is slightly stale relative to the announcement we've made recently. So that's close to 70% complete. And here we are in the middle half of the year. So we feel like there's a good opportunity for us to complete this for the year and probably before the end of the year. On the BTC dollar gain, we also increased our target to $15 billion for 2025. We're over 50% done there. So all of the tools that I described earlier, whether it's the preferred equity offering, whether it's the convertible notes complex, whether it's our issuance of common equity, this all allows us to achieve those results. And so we're very excited to increase our targets, but we're also very optimistic that these are more than achievable. And if our track record is any indication, hopefully you'll see us achieving this sooner than even we think. So with that, thank you for your time. I appreciate everyone's energy, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon.